Thank you so very much. I think sometime myself what you're doing.
She's a heartbreaker, soul shaker, teenage sex dream loving. She's a heartbreaker, soul shaker, teenage sex dream loving. She was just a 16, walking down home to his home with his friend. She would never be the same. Lost her virginity, every gang thing.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Then they have a Big City Blues magazine, which is based out of Royal Oak, I guess. So they talk about different, juke joints. I went with my friend Jeff through a Mississippi tour, through the Crossroads and everything. Did the blues tour. A lot of fun. But yeah, that's an easy ticket for me to cover his blues music. That magazine has a couple of blues festivals. I might have to check one or two of them out if I get a travel bug in me. One's in Aurora, Illinois, which is not that far away. That's just kind of like a suburb of Chicago. So that wouldn't be a bad gig. All right, heading eastbound, or westbound, excuse me. Westbound on Michigan Avenue. Back to my humble abode. But there's the Little Caesar. They have affordable pizza. Geez, if you sell a lot of those things, maybe you too can own a couple of sports teams. He parlayed selling a bunch of pizza slices into quite the empire. Well, I want to take another look at the Detroit sign. Apparently, when it initially came out, I think people had high hopes that this thing was going to do cartwheels and all that, and some people seem to be disappointed. But then when it lit up at night, then more people got excited about it, thinking, hey, that's kind of cool. The place now is to determine the optimum place to do the selfies and whatnot. And it might be on the westbound service drive. Somebody might have added that. Welcome to Detroit. I think that was added after the fact. They got some nice landscaping there. But yeah, this is where people might chill. Maybe they'll set up a couple picnic tables. But yeah, there's a pedestrian walkway across here. Kind of like a pedestrian bridge that will go over I-94. But with the sign being on an angle, you can really, it's not too good of a vantage point from here. No graffiti, no climbing. What else? They got rules. Sign everywhere, sign. I'll get a better look here. There's a whole list of things. Okay, no graffiti, no climbing, no touching. Wow, kazowie. And no loitering. So I'm going to have to keep moving. I think technically I'm loitering. Cass Bar, I think it got its name because the cross street is Casper. So they just cut it short and went with Cass. But that's not far from Central. That sign is between Central and Cecil. So you can stop and take a peek. All right, exit 202. And it's a blue light district where my house is because this is Lions country. Big ass Lion fan. All right, and then I like the Dirty Show too, which is an annual event that they host at the Russell Industrial Center. All right, and then Detroit. It's a red light district inside. Then I slept a little bit, but then I got up in the moon. I wanted to do a moon update. So this was early Monday morning. And looks like a guitar pick kind of for the moon. But there's some clouds floating by. And so it's a waning moon at this point. Getting smaller. Smaller and smaller. All right. Cottonwood tree, and then later in the morning, there's Cottonwood shows up a little bit better. Yeah, the sun, we're getting like 14 hours of sunlight now. So that's what, I'll have to look. That's probably 70%. It's kind of like egg-shaped, the moon there. All right, and then, well, here, I'm going to call the action with the Red Wings schedule, so you got to listen in here. I'm going to show you the schedule for this past year for the Red Wings. So I went through this game by game, home and away, and then they had the Europe Global Series. So they played 2 games in neutral sites in Europe. One against Ottawa and one against Toronto. But this is the preliminary thing. When I broke this down, I had some questions here. How we're in the Atlantic Division. You know, but these are the teams in the Atlantic. I can see Boston and Florida. And Tampa Bay's the Gulf. Montreal's kind of a stretch, but anyways, I digress. But I could say here, we could take Pittsburgh and Columbus into our division and give them Tampa Bay and Florida in this one. Just saying. But anyways, breaking down this thing, they play basically every team in their immediate division 4 times. Everyone in their conference, or the other metropolitan, but in the Eastern Conference 3 times. And then everyone in the Western Conference, everybody a home and away. And so 2 times. So you play at least each team in the whole league at least once, and once at home and once on the road. But there's a couple anomalies because they have 82 games in the schedule. There were a couple anomalies. Toronto, they only played 3 times. In Tampa Bay, they played 3 times. They should have actually taken a couple of these teams and just played them twice. Instead, they took a premier team for Detroit, obviously, is Toronto, and then Tampa Bay. So we only played them 3 times, but look at this. One of them was in Europe. So when I was going through the schedule, I looked here, and yeah, Detroit played Toronto at home exactly 0 times. How does that happen? That's crazy. So this was my first draft, but then I started, because of the tiebreaker and the fact that they didn't make the playoffs, I decided to break it down a little bit further. So Florida was the best team in our division, the Atlantic, then Boston, Toronto. But yeah, I got here 0 times we played Toronto at home. We played Toronto twice in Toronto, and we played them once in Europe. But they were too afraid to play us in Detroit, apparently. The league office is in Toronto. How this oversight could have happened, I don't know. It just could be one of those conspiracy things. Who's to say? I think Toronto might have thought about it and said, hey, we don't want Detroit to play them in Detroit. That would be like an automatic loss. So they might be running a little scared. I'm just saying. I can't confirm all that. But okay, here... Okay, the New York Rangers, we lost to them 3 times. That wasn't good. Carolina, we lost all 3 times we played them. I got in regulation wins. That was the tiebreaker too that hurt the Red Wings. They were 27 wins and 32 losses in regulation. But in overtime, they were 14-9. So if you just add that up, they basically were an even Steven team. But overtime, I put circles. That would be where they'd play 3-on-3. And then if it went to the shootout, I put it in a square. And the Wings were 3-1 in shootouts. So that worked out pretty good. But yeah, I just broke the whole schedule down, and those were a couple things. So they had 27 wins, it's 54 points. Overtime wins, another 22. Overtime losses, 8. shootout wins and shootout losses, so 91 points. And they tied Washington, and Washington promptly lost to New York in 4 straight. I think Detroit could have done better, but wait till next year. But yeah, that's the big glaring thing. So you got to ask the league office or the people in Toronto, how did you allow that to happen? Detroit fans could not see the hated Maple Leafs in our town. How does that happen? That's like Original 6. All right, just saying. Next thing, I got to break down the Tigers schedule. Okay, well, here's the Tigers schedule, and you can get them at some certain Little Caesars pizza places. So I got a couple now, so I feel good about that. First game I'm thinking of going to check out is St. Louis. Have to see if that works out, May 1st. That's just because back in the day, in 1968, I was rooting the Tigers to beat St. Louis, and they did. But looking also at the schedule here, LA Dodgers, Saturday, July 13th. And that, I like it because they got giveaway Saturdays. So every Saturday. So the one on July 13th, retro Detroit Stars hat. So I want to see what that would be like. And there's the seating chart. But yeah, I'll break down the schedule. Thankfully, they don't play their division rivals 19 times like they did a few years ago. It's down to 13, so that's good. Okay, it's time to drink from the cup. If one thing we learned from the NFL draft party thing is Detroit knows how to throw a party. We got that angle covered. Here, diversity. A lot of people get their panties in a bunch when you talk about diversity. Usually it's the sexual and gender one that bunches up the panties, but there's so much diversity, and you got to think about it. If everybody was like as you were, or let's use me as an example. If everybody was like me, how boring would the world be? It'd be pretty boring. We can all agree on that. Let me press the stop. This is going to be a short show. But yeah, it's good to have diversity. That's what makes the world interesting. Things go round and round. So don't freak out because not everybody looks exactly like you or thinks exactly like you or enjoys the same food or the same music or the same pets or the same companions or the same whatever. To each their own. Jeez. And then we need to stop fighting and killing each other too. So have a ceasefire in the Middle East. That would be a good start. So we need to work on that. Folks, though, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great week or weekend, whatever the case may be. And good night.